Old school Yu-Gi-Oh has its charm, it has its luster, but more importantly, it always has its top tier cards. And while not every single card is translated over, there are still some really powerful old school cards that are really good in modern Yu-Gi-Oh. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about 10 of the most powerful old school Yu-Gi-Oh cards that are actually still really good right now. Let's go ahead and jump on in. So what exactly is an old school Yu-Gi-Oh card? While some people may say that it's subjective, cards like Infinite Impermanence and Ash Blossom could be old enough to be considered old school Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I mean, they are both roughly 8 and 6 years old respectively. I think it would only be a little fair to go a little bit older than that. Specifically, in this video, we'll be talking about cards that are roughly 12 years and older. The reason why I say it like this is because I think one of the biggest changes that happened into Yu-Gi-Oh was the introduction of pendulum monsters. A lot of people will agree that this is a huge difference between old school Yu-Gi-Oh and the Yu-Gi-Oh we know today. In fact, I actually have a video talking about why everyone hates pendulum monsters, and like I said before, it's one of the biggest shifts in the Yu-Gi-Oh card game, but we're not here to talk about that, because I'm actually going to be doubling down. Not only will these Yu-Gi-Oh cards be old school, every single one of them will be relevant for 2025. And now that I have the criteria down, let's go ahead and jump to 2013, which is 12 years ago starting in 2025. Happy New Year's. We're going to talk about a card that's going to be incredibly relevant. You see, the year of 2025 is already gearing up for Xseed monsters to take the center stage. Konami has not only released a really powerful strategy named Yugioh, a deck that can Xseed summon with pretty much just one card, there are also a lot of old school Xseed strategies that are going to be getting support. And it's also a huge reason why Xseed Encore is going to be a powerful old school Yu-Gi-Oh card. The card is also really powerful against more modernized Yu-Gi-Oh strategies like Sharks and Goblin Bikers, so you can almost guarantee that you'll see more Xseed Encore in 2025. And that actually brings me to the next old school Yu-Gi-Oh card, because the Xseed mechanic is relatively old school. Judgment of the Light is on the cusp of 2013, and so is Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy. The aforementioned Dragon Ruler monsters will be a threat inside of 2025 because of the new support it's going to be getting. Dragon Rulers are regarded as one of the strongest Yu-Gi-Oh strategies of all time. And at its strongest, the best thing about Dragon Rulers is that not only were they monsters that you can summon to your side of the field with ease, when they're banished, they allowed you to be able to get other dragon monsters of their same type and attribute from your deck to your hand, almost created an endless engine. The new Dragon Ruler cards that will be coming out in Alliance Insight is only going to make this strategy even more reputable. But for the immediate 2025, if we are to stay inside of Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy, King of Feral Imps is another powerful Yu-Gi-Oh card that will see play. While it hasn't had any sightings in the OCG, which is roughly about 5 months ahead, every few months the TCG, which is America and Europe, gets an exclusive TCG archetype that the OCG won't get for a while. This time around, it just so happens to be a reptile-based Yu-Gi-Oh strategy named Mitsurugi. The Mitsurugi cards fit in so well because Xseed monsters are on the rise, and King of Feral Imps is a very powerful card that can be used alongside of those Xseed-based Yu-Gi-Oh strategies. And personally, I also think that spellbooks will be getting support in 2025. All of the signs point to it. We've already received Battling Boxer, with Dolce, now just Dragon Ruler, Harpy, and Noble Knight support. I really do think that those are going to be the next group of cards that Konami is going to tap into. Now, there are some other pretty obvious cards that will be used in 2025. Monsters like Abyss Dweller are incredibly powerful, especially since Xseeds are going to be up on the rise. But I actually want to focus on a different era, the Synchro era this time around, and talk about some other good cards. Now granted, we could still talk about some very obvious cards here. Both Drolden Lockbird coming out of Star Strike Blast and Effect Veiler coming out of Duelist Revolution are still ridiculously strong Yu-Gi-Oh cards that have been played for years and still will continue to be played. But there's actually a few cards that came out during this era that are also going to be ridiculous. Ancient Fairy Dragon is also getting support in 2025. In fact, Ancient Fairy Dragon will be getting its very own strategy that it's centered around its main protagonist, Luna, from the 5Ds anime. But if we're going to be completely honest with ourselves, Ancient Fairy Dragon is the strongest of all 5 signers, having the effect to allow you to essentially turn any field spell card to one another and then special summon a monster from your hand to your side of the field. This deck has always had modern capabilities. It's genuinely only a matter of time before a Yu-Gi-Oh strategy that plays multiple field spells comes along and breaks this card. In fact, the era of synchro summoning has a ton of great Yu-Gi-Oh cards that have just been waiting to be broken. Cards like Book of Eclipse, which is already seeing competitive play in Yu-Gi-Oh, will show no signs of ever slowing down. Book of Eclipse is an old school Yu-Gi-Oh card that came out in 2008 when synchros were first introduced in the Duelist Genesis. It's a card that didn't see impact immediately, but behold, 17 years later, this card is one of the strongest spell cards in the game. And speaking of other strong spell cards with potential, Rekindling has a ton of it. Not only will we be getting more fire support with strategies like Jurax receiving support in their own set in 2025, Rekindling, like most spell cards from the 5Ds era, just has an insane amount of potential. This card from Ancient Prophecy is a massive spread monster reborn, and it's actually seeing competitive play at points in time during Yu-Gi-Oh! Just like how the last card I'm going to mention from the Synchro era is one of the most powerful spell cards in the game as well. Emergency Teleport has dipped in and out of the format consistently. It was first used in Teleport Dark Arm, another one of the strongest strategies in the entire history of Yu-Gi-Oh! But also has been a card that has just been consistently used in so many decks throughout its era. Being able to special summon any level 3 or lower psychic monster from your deck allows you to get access to powerful monsters like Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, which is one of the only hand traps that can use its effect on the field, as well as other wacky psychic monsters, whether you're using them for a Synchro, an Exceed, and anything in between. Now, if we're going to stay incredibly old school, the original series as well as GX has some absolute bangers. I think everybody knows for a fact that Gladiator Beast Heraclinos will see some type of Yu-Gi-Oh play, even if it's at the very local level. Gladiator Beast was another dominant Yu-Gi-Oh deck for its time, and Heraclinos was a complete monster, making his debut from Gladiator's Assault. Being able to negate any spell or trap card was completely insane. Gladiator Beast later combined this type of power with monsters like Gladiator Beast Geyserus and War Chariot, which old school Gladiator Beast players are definitely going to be trying out once Gladiator Beasts get new support in 2025, which is confirmed. What's that you say? Gladiator Beast? Oh, it's about time! Gladiator Beast is a powerful Yu-Gi-Oh deck that does a lot of things. I remember summoning Gladiator Beast Ratari and banishing Lightstorm cards. Then, of course, there's still your standard banger Yu-Gi-Oh cards from the original series. Both Raigeki and Harpy's Feather Duster are still some of the best Yu-Gi-Oh cards in the game. It's always good to be able to play a powerful spell card that can destroy all of your opponent's spell and trap cards or their monsters on the field at any given time. You can bet yourself that these cards will always be in competitive play. And lastly, will be the oldest Yu-Gi-Oh card that we'll see play. I mean, outside of Raigeki, which came out in Legend of Blue Eyes, this card has been consistently a powerhouse in Yu-Gi-Oh! Solemn Judgment has been used in a plethora of powerful Yu-Gi-Oh strategies. And it's simply because half of your life points doesn't really mean anything consequential when you get to stop your opponent's best cards. Being able to stop cards like Harpy's Feather Duster, Raigeki, or any of the other cards that I mentioned, Solemn Judgment is still one of the most powerful cards that still will be used in 2025. And those are some of the most powerful old school Yu-Gi-Oh cards that will be used in 2025. It was really fun to make this video. Of course, Big Dog, if you want to see more amazing content like this, then go ahead and let us know down below in the comment section what are some other type of videos we should do, and be sure to check out these so I can catch you on the next one.